Hello there, guys. So we had some issues, technical difficulties with our episode 2 for the podcast. Just wanted to put a little reminder out for everyone. This is kind of new to me, and I've been editing the show myself lately. So hopefully in future episodes things will go smoother. Um, so the episode this week starts a little late. We're gonna jump into about 8 minutes into our recording session, as I and the host, Vatty, couldn't actually get my voice to work for the first 8 minutes. But we were basically discussing the Arizona Islanders deal with ML Jesus, Amiot, Gross, Cromwell, and a few other pieces going to the Islanders for Coots, Steiny, and some picks. Later in the episode, you'll hear some things about studs and duds, and a lot of things are said about the Islanders' choice to move them for such low picks. Um, so just so you know, that's a little bit what you're missing. Wasn't too big of a trade though, so we felt like we didn't need to re-record a whole episode just for it. Plus, it's St. Patty's Days and Saturdays are for the boys, so I didn't want to get in anybody's way. As for that, I'm gonna go ahead and throw you into about 8 minutes in. Today's podcast, we have Arizona owner Pure Talent, Edmonton AGM Sarvi, and Chicago Blackhawks goalie a psychic taco. So without further ado, let me throw you in, and thanks for listening, guys.
Take a
Yeah,
team
I,
like
I
that.
could see that too. I could see that. I guess more or less my issue with the deal was I for sure, wink wink, know that there were better players made available for the trade, and so I wasn't excited when I saw that deal go down. I just don't like the look of a team going down in flames in week 4 and 17 players having to play for got no hope. Like they can't even make a push. So, anyways, moving on to the next trade. This one was huge too. This is a two-part deal. Um, we see the Party Poopa moved from Calgary to Vegas and then immediately moved to Nashville along with Curiosity a second and Ezreal for Womack Cletus and Surprise Me. Now, right after this deal, Curiosity was moved to Calgary along with a fourth round draft pick for Raya the Beholder, a first from Vegas, second from LA, and no sleeves called from Calgary. So this is somehow worked in a huge three-way deal with what you could consider a lower tier first line D man in Curiosity moving to Nashville, and then moving to Calgary, and a pretty, I mean, really well known guys that played together in Womack, Cletus, and Surprise Me. Um, Going to Vegas. Vegas has had some scoring issues. I mean, who do you guys think won this trade? I mean, we see Calgary picking up a lower top tier first line D man to go along with Jerdubs and Deceased Goblin, and we see Vegas pick up a solid second slash third line, and Womack, Cletus, and Surprise Me.
Yeah, I think the issue I have with Calgary involving themselves in this deal is they're already down to 15 roster players. They got to acquire people, and through this trade, they've lost another player. They lost a D man, I believe, no sleeve. So they need another D man. They need another forward, and with who they have now, you don't want to move a Curiosity, or you don't want to move Nylander. I don't know. Like they look good, but they have to find a way to acquire these last pieces, and
Yeah, I
it's gonna be difficult.
I agree with you. Like top
I think
four,
they might
Calgary
need to
looks
get bailed
solid.
out by their AHL at least for a week.
I know for sure they have an AHL team. Could be called up. You can call up some people who rock a solid NHL roster. I mean, Stockton has been what first last season, and going on this season as well, they're still number one in the division now that I look. Uh, like it looks like they could take some pieces from the AHL if they wanted, and they probably wouldn't skip a beat. Maybe look better. I mean, how good, honestly, is No Sleeves and Ride of the Beholder? Were they worth the money they were paid? I mean, bringing on Curiosity, I think, is a deal. I mean, the fact that Vegas has gone like 500, and they've scored barely any goals all season. I mean, I think that's pretty big. That Calgary picks up three, what you consider guys who could go on to maybe 15 teams and be first line demon. Now they have three.
I think
it beats up their.
Jerdubs said if he could concentrate down some value from the cap to one guy like Curiosity, he could go down to his very successful Stockton Heat if he needs and see what he can do with that. Replenish that roster with some cheaper guys that he might not be able to get through waiver or whatever. So I think that was probably a smarter move for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think it's a great move. The fact that you bring in, where you have three guys on your roster right now that are on most teams. Yeah, it looks great. I definitely question Nashville's move a little bit. They're a weird team. I like the way they're rebuilding. Sort of, they're bringing in guys that will play for them and will show up. And somehow they went ahead and acquired a first and a second, and only gave up a second and a fourth. And they still picked up good players. I mean, they went ahead and moved No Sleeves earlier today for Zevalo and RJM. I mean, RJM got banned earlier this season, came back and appealed it, and sounds like he's showing up again. So, as long as
he's only played one game. I don't know what's up with RJM because I was offered maybe a piece with RJM in it.
I mean, I think that
he has one game played, so that was a big.
Although Spectre could was before, I think this is definitely even if he's not keeping these guys, I think he's just getting raw value back. Yeah, he got more value back than he gave away. So I think if he just wants to send them back out to the market, I think people will take some of that stuff and prove based on this trade, even if he's not keeping these players.
Yeah, and I would trust A1 Freak with a rebuild. Actually, pretty dang good at working his way into getting extra picks and returning contracts or good re-signs. Yeah, I think they're considering that they're going to build a decent team that maybe could make a turnaround somehow, potentially. But if it doesn't work, then they are well set for next season.
Agreed. Another deal that has a lot of people up in arms is the Young Grant Gap Shot team. Gap Shot going to St. Louis and the Stack San Jose Sharks getting Young Grant. What do you guys think of that one?
I think it's a joke, but for
I don't
St.
think
Louis,
it's a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. Gren's very talented, really talented.
When he wants to
And-
try, and I guarantee
Yeah.
you he's going to try 100% for the Sharks.
Yeah, and I wouldn't consider Gapshot TV to be anywhere near the talent. And the first round pick is San Jose's, so it's going to be a very late first round pick, more likely
Oh, yeah,
than not.
I would consider them a second round team already.
But if you were to say move Young Gren to another contender that maybe would have more value, like more picks and assets they could trade, it doesn't look the greatest. Neji said Fizzy made the deal, and with Fizzy being banned, I don't know if there's going to be a review into that trade.
To be honest with you, Fizzy did make the deal. PvP accepted on San Jose side. We'll get more into the Fizzy thing because there's a lot of interesting stuff I haven't actually brought up to anyone and didn't even ask the league about. But there was some weird Fizzy shit that happened concerning my organization as well. So we'll get more into that later in the next topic. But I mean, I think it's a win, 100% San Jose if they get.
Oh yeah.
I mean, hands down.
I know, but Gapshot's also pretty good. Honestly, if you look at his stats, he is a good player. He's a very good player.
I feel like Rain could have gathered a lot more than a first.
Yeah.
I definitely think. I mean, the value came up short there, especially for a struggling St. Louis. That I will give props.
I don't know about that.
Every
I think on
time
the
he
top
does a
end, you'd
trade,
have to
it
say
looks
so.
pretty solid.
Minnesota being fourth spot
Um,
in the division.
and it looks like they made a little bit of a each trade. So um, I definitely think it's a win for San Jose if they get to keep him. But let's move on. Again, there's a lot of trades to get to this week. This one really interested me because it's two teams in my division that are fighting for playoffs. One about a point out, and one's a few points out and having scoring issues. We see Volt X, DXT Gerd, King Marcotte from Washington moved over to Brando's team in Pittsburgh for Lewski people and Marijuana Murph, who was already sent down on waivers and a second round. This is also no compensation, which I found really interesting for two teams that are trying to make playoffs. What do you guys think about this one? I mean, Voltex is a solid second line team. I think Lewski's might be better than Volt, in my own opinion.
Yeah. Well, the with Gerby and the other guy, I know that they were looking to no comp it. I heard that they were giving availability though, so I don't know. Maybe they were worried if it was sent to kind of a shittier team, maybe they would have quit. But I mean, I think anyone will play for Brando
Oh, I don't think
or
Brando has
should.
any issue playing with him. My interesting part was they really must have scraped the bottom of the barrel for trade offers in that deal because I mean, people for sure I know would interest, is a solid third line, second line pair with the right people. Lewski is second line D. Marijuana Murph really has played only 4 games.
He's on waivers now too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd say for Pittsburgh, it's a win. They get some pretty talented people, but definitely a gamble if they don't show up. But I think they will for that management group. For Washington, they get guys back that will show up and will play, but I feel like they lose a bit of potential. There's a bit less
yeah,
there.
there's a lot of teams I feel like this week that just they maybe I maybe in my own personal opinion I feel like they pulled the gun the trigger a little too early on trades. I feel like they didn't really. I feel like you could have got more. Maybe the value is just not there this year. But there's a lot of trades where I just especially this one. I mean, you see APX who has missed I think a total of 6 fourth go to fourth line for Booyah and a second. I mean, Booyah, former first overall drafted player, um, easily one of the more known Pro Series guys. I mean, moved for a guy who known cancer. From what I've heard on the street, like APX gave a lot of issues to Slimco, gave a lot of issues to Spectre. I mean, the fact that you moved Booyah for him, I would understand it if you had another deal lined up. But looking at the trades right here, they didn't really have any. Winnipeg hasn't made enough.
I'm only gonna say one thing about the trade, and then I'll just say everybody else can talk about it. But if Bradley allowed that trade to happen, there's no way around it. If Bradley's allowing Booyah to be moved, there's something either wrong or he's just not happy with how he's doing. So I feel like Winnipeg really wanted to do that shakeup and felt like Booyah was not living up anywhere near his $7 million cap hit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it just comes down to him not carrying the weight of his contract, and he might not have even been bad, but I think to have him at 7 mil and to be able to get rid of him for 5 mil less and a similar caliber player, probably, I think that they wanted to do that. And they did, obviously.
yeah. I mean, and this is another. I mean, there's another interesting deal here. Um, building up a team that I mean, they took some questionable guys back. To be honest, we see Hungry Ducks move, ex Smirky, and Hilly move to Vancouver for Guru, a first, Desi D19, and Dr. D. Um, Vancouver had an average week this week. They went 5-5 in the last 10. Um, I don't know. Personally, I feel like this is actually a win for Dallas. To be completely honest, I know that's not a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but Smarky really hasn't lived up to the contract he played for last season, let alone this season. Hilly's a great contract at 500K, so if you're looking for a third liner, you're great. But I feel like that team has a third line that could beat any other third line Poly Chunks already, and they were getting good value out of Guru and Dr. D. I felt like in 4 weeks, Vancouver wasn't. I don't know. I feel like they didn't need to make this move unless there's something I don't know.
I'd say the only thing I know about this ex Winnipeg Jet with KB and Brett, who are the AGM and GM. So I could see him going with that D pair, Jemima Smirky. That looks very promising if Smirky shows up like he did several years ago. But I don't know. It seems like an even trade to me, but
No,
I
I
don't
think
know
this is
why
the trade
Vancouver
that
would
I
do
see.
it. So
I think this is honestly the most even trade I've seen this week. But it's very interesting to see a team that just hit a little skid, I think, this week. Um, Kind of already makes what I would think is some to their second line. I guess if Smorky can live up to the first line name, then they have a great deal in their hands. I think I understand it 100% side, but I just given Smorky hasn't played that first line like like a first liner in the past 2 seasons. I mean, unless Jemima and him just have some unnamed history that I don't know about, but you know what I mean. Like I feel like you're paying 6 mil to a player that they must know something because he hasn't really done jack shit this season.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that connects. I think won this deal personally. I think that they got rid of the guys who they thought lifting up the weight, and they got
maybe
back a
produce.
player that they might, and they might have some chemistry with these new guys coming in with the current guys that they have. That
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I mean, if they know something and they likely do that we don't, then 100% they won this deal. I just know that Guru and Dr. D have been playing pretty solid this season, and Desi D has been, I mean, moved twice, but I know everyone regards him as at least a second line. So getting what I would consider a third line demon in Hungry Ducks, a third liner in Hilly, and a first liner in Smirky. I wonder if they pay just a little much, but maybe this is their deal that they need to do before they go on a big win streak and really contend for that San Jose top spot in the Pacific. Um,
Well,
there are
back
some
to just
small deals here.
finish up with
Yeah.
that trade. They just gave me Desi D, right? Dallas gave
No,
me
I did
Desi,
not
right?
see that.
So
So what
Dallas
trade?
so Dallas gave me Desi for Cronwall. So Dallas did lose out on Desi, but I also gave them a first. So it looks like they're in a full rebuild.
That but if we want to rank rebuilds here, I which we'll talk more about that later. But I feel like Dallas is doing it right. They're bringing still guys in that can go win games. I like that trade on both sides. Cromwell, especially a good deal. And the fact that you gave up a first, I feel like Dallas definitely did their due with that deal. There's not a lot of big trades aside from those. Is there any other trades you guys want to jump into? I mean, there's a few here. Uh, D. Lee somehow picked up a first round draft pick um, for Christopher, who
yeah,
has been having a subpar season. I a little surprised by that, but aside from those types of deals where we see just a lot of picks or players moved, I would say the only other move I see that's really huge was we see Florida make a move. Uh, they're moving away a first, Coffee X9, and second, Jen Benning, Ocean. um, which I questioned very heavily when I saw the deal on Florida's side. I know Coffee's been subpar the past two seasons, almost considered a third liner now. Um, but Jim Benning really hasn't done great either. We talked about him a little bit last week. Carolina's slipping farther and farther down the standings. I hands down thought Carolina won that deal. Um, but aside from those types of trades, I don't see a lot of other deals really worth talking about. It looked like a lot of people move in third liners for third liners, picks and third round picks, and seconds for second liners. For and aside from that, though, I mean, is there any other trades you guys did want to talk about this week?
No, but the
No.
only comment I'd have on that Florida deal is it looks like they're backing up on more and more West Coast guys, and that team is going to just be absolutely terrible to play with if they have home ice. And this is not a fun time.
Yeah, I did not know that Jim Benning was a West Coast guy, but I
Jim
understand that more for them.
Jim Benning is in real life he's the GM Canuck.
I'm gonna guess he's a Vancouver guy though with that gamer tag.
Oh, sorry, did I cut out there?
A little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's the real life GM of the Vancouver.
Yeah, you're lying.
No, well, no, not he's not. He is not the GM.
Yeah, but that's what his name is. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
assume he's Vancouver Canucks.
yeah. I'd assume he lives near British.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. To our next topic. Our next topic, of course, will be the disappointing weeks that some hot teams. Uh, not teams in their divisions. New Jersey Panthers going 5-3-2 in their last, and Winnipeg going 5-3-2 in their last 10. I mean, of course, there's other ones. Minnesota 5-5 in their last 10, and Vancouver going 4-4 deals. Um, Florida picking up some West and Winnipeg moving Booyah away. Teams not make moves at all. Minnesota Wild, for that case, not making many moves. They and Dagaboo, but that was New Jersey moving away only one player this week. What do you guys think?
I'll comment on the Minnesota team. I think the real thing holding all of their cap space tied down in a small handful of individuals. They will not move. You got official mark at 9.5, Devon at 8, and Flo Sauce-Chu at 5.5. A large portion of their cap space in 3 players. That leaves them with literally having to trade 1.25, or lower players and try and find talent that is going to come back at that, equal value. Like people won't take bad players at cheap contracts or good players at cheap contracts. It's just going to be very tough for them to make trades without moving something big.
I also think that I look at this Minnesota team and they have, for how many games played, they have many more losses compared to their overtime losses. So I think that could be holding them back too. I think that their back end is phenomenal. And if find ways to get more points out of get 3-point games instead of coming away with nothing, I think that would go much farther away. And I think they could squeak into playoffs if they can do that.
I mean, by no means I do. I like this this division. It's Winnipeg, Chicago, and Colorado all at 50 plus points. Minnesota at 42, and then you have the next best team is the Nashville Predators with 12 and 24 and 1. 25 points. Oh yeah, I mean, as good as me and our fucking shit is I as the GM of Minnesota, I would not be trying to make large moves. But I mean, I don't know who would you rather play in playoffs, Winnipeg or Chicago?
Well, I mean, if they have a wild card spot, it'd be either Winnipeg or likely, and I personally
They're
wouldn't want to
looking.
play either of them.
I think the Wild, depending on Anaheim, which is second in the wild card right now, you're looking at playing probably the Jets because I'm going to imagine the Sharks get a little bit better than their points and probably get a little bit better with that Grin trade. So, I mean, Minnesota for sure going to make law. I mean, I think they're a lock to make law. But I mean, I would definitely be looking to make moves. So go in with some of these other teams that we saw make moves this week and start moving away some of these picks they have for bargain cheap contracts that play well. Um, Especially with them sitting almost 9 points out of third, and they're 3 points up on the wild card race. So, I mean, I thought they would make moves. Maybe there'll be more players in deadline, but I mean, they have a phenomenal defense. I just question their third line, anything, third line forwards, third line D man, and it looks like they've kind of revolving door on that third line left wing spot. Looks like they moved Carlson down to the AHL. Was originally on their team to start this. So it looks like they're gonna probably be shopping for those 2 mil or less players the next 2 weeks before deadline. And then of course we have a team that like Vancouver who made moves this week after going 4-4-2. They're sitting in the second spot in the Pacific. They're about 6 points up on Calgary, but once again they needed some scoring. 85 goals for, 63 against. What do you guys think about their disappointing week last week?
I gotta go and look and see who they played, but I think
They
it
played
was just
Eastern.
I were intentionally maybe it just
Well, if you don't so four, and that sits them at second and last in the score.
yeah. So that is pretty rough, but I would trust that like the Roski, Swazi, and KSW line will turn it around. Um, I mean, I'm fine with them doing shakeups for the sake of getting more goals. But you also have to consider that they're very good defensively. That includes the forwards. So
Yeah,
just got to be careful with those kind of trades.
They're not sustainable with staying where they are if they can't get some goals going. I think they got to get one or two more goals a game here coming up. I think that they played really good defense, and I think that they are offensive caliber players in that recent trade. So I think it will even them out a little bit better, and I think they will sustain where they are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
I mean, I just wonder, and maybe Sparky gets them, that 2 goals per game that they need. I mean, they're 10-5-4 and one. So, if you look at their statistics, they've actually lost almost all of their games by one. This is a phenomenal. Uh, and I think if they just added that scoring factor, I think they could make a huge push at San Jose. I don't get me wrong, San Jose is a great team, but Vancouver with the way they're producing, you look at them. Only 4 of their losses have been by more than one all season long. We're in week. That is one loss per week. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's astonishing.
So
Yeah.
down the line, they can make a pretty big move to acquire someone.
Well, that's with
My players, if they were.
yeah, no Winnipeg. So with in Chicago, so it does lead the and pick up Booyah. Booyah being moved for sure. Because like you said, Taco, that had to be by through Brad. So there's something weird going on with the APX is for Booyah. Um, but I guess cap reason kind of makes that move. I mean, you guys think this team should have made more moves this week? I mean, what do you think?
No,
This is a team that plays love.
I don't think they really needed to make any Booyah trade, but I think what's going to happen at some point if he wasn't going to perform. Top to bottom looks pretty dang good. Uh, like you said, leading the league in points, 118 goals for, I think is also league best. Yeah, by about 18, about 4 goals. Anaheim has 114, and they
Yeah.
also only have 70 against, so they're very well rounded. I'd say maybe the only question would be is if it comes to a game 7, trading Booyah, you'll lose a bit of that veteran presence that has been through game 7s and experiences, but I think they have the talent that could also deal with a situation like that. That's also down the road, though. Say they got to still secure that first spot in the division.
There's
Yeah,
no question that they make
they
playoffs.
should, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think they will drop out. It raises eyebrows. I mean, you look at Chicago. They be honest, and that solid 8-2 almost every week.
Yep.
And they don't look Winnipeg 118 less or 18 less goals for, but you're also letting you know
Yeah.
like
I'd rather not go over the my team kind of favoritism, bias, but
oh for sure.
definitely is an interesting matchup if you were to put them together. I also think with trades that they feel are necessary trades every week, or making adjustments, small, sometimes big, kind of team. Maybe not the greatest talented team, but best definitely on all 3 lines.
Just that efficient.
So round this up a bit, boys. Let's on this
Uh, I mean,
sort
the Devils, they gave up Line this week, which I don't know. They gave up Line for John. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I think Line was a big piece of that team.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
very tough to tell. I think it's definitely they have so many pieces that contribute to their success that when you remove someone like Line, you really don't know what's gonna happen. So it's really
Well,
just a
I mean,
sit back. can
this
see
is a little bit more of a panic move. I honestly, this division is a weird. The Eastern Metro, and I'll be quick about this because I want to move on to our next topic. But your standings wise, we are looking at New Jersey being 44, Philly being 43, Pittsburgh being 42, New York being 42, Rangers, of course, Washington at 38, Columbus at 30, Carolina at 27, Islanders at 25. I mean, this is a division where it literally could come down to the last.
That's what it's looking like right now. I mean, it's really, really close, and I think it's kind of funny that they mimic the real life Metro. They're so close, and I think every game to matter because that 1 or 2 game loss can really come down to the last week where there's going to be like a 3-point like difference between everybody, at least the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Devils need to. I mean, I don't. I'm surprised they did, but I think they definitely need to press the pedal down a little bit harder, like they did one. Hold that spot because it's. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about Florida. You guys see them still rebounding? They're top in their division. I mean, I think Florida's gonna stay at their spot, tied with Boston, and probably also. But the chance to move down is there. I mean, the whole East is a shit show of. I mean, it's claustrophobic. The Atlantic is a lot like the Metro. The 15 in the Atlantic has 44 points.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a weird division. Not as much as the Metro, but I mean Ottawa. You at the beginning of the season was supposed to be a cup contender, and they've been struggling. But you can still see them making that return to form that people expect them to make. And with Toronto 10-0 in their last, it's definitely a lot more contested than people were thinking at the beginning of the season.
For sure.
I
Let's go ahead and
think
move on to our next topic real quick. We're cutting a little long on time. Um, let's go ahead and talk about some of the guys who have gotten banned this. There's a lot of discussion about Greg X White being banned. Um, kind of funny, kind of a joke. Not not sure what you guys think on it. I thought it was hilarious.
I think coming from say RV, it would be more appropriate because it was his team, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then not to leave off some guys who got banned this week. We see Busy getting punished, and we also see my GM Mike leave for personal reasons. So, Darby, why don't you kick us off and tell us about Great White?
so. I didn't play in the game, and after watching it, I think it was. You could argue both sides for sure. I think we're probably out for that game, and you knew who he was playing against. He was playing against Lucas Hendry and his line, so obviously Greg knows those guys, and so I think he was kind of fucking around, showing that he didn't really care that he was on this team now. So I think it was dumb of him to do that, considering he likes LG and he cares about it. And then, but after we send that action report and report it, that's out of our hands. You can't really look at us and say, fuck you guys. I think you got to look at the fact that Greg did that and
Well, I mean, by all means, I'm gonna come out and say I'm known as the guy who goes around and bans. So, one, I'm not judging you with it. Two, I would say I don't blame you. Is this the only game he did in? Did he do another game?
I believe he did it once with us, but I know that on LA, I think they lost 10-0 one game, and I think that their owner had talked to me, Haymaker, about like that going on, and it wasn't ever reported.
Yeah. One thing I'll say in regard that was in question that got him banned. There were several clips of the goals, and the only one that to me felt like was even worth a ban or worth looking into was the one where, with about 6 seconds left, the puck carrier comes up from the goal line, and instead of just standing there and being square to the shot, he for some reason stacks his pads and spins around, and then they just pass it around him and shoot it into the net. At that point, it was only a 3-0 game. Now, it's still 3-0, but it's just definitely not a good thing to do.
Yeah,
It's intentional.
Obviously, it wasn't a good thing to do, but from an owner's perspective, honestly, I wouldn't have dished out the ban. I can see where Poopy's coming from. He has every right to obviously report it, same as CRV, but at the same time, the way that I look at it is you guys could have still gotten some value for it. Like, could have gotten even a pick, could have gotten something, you could have gotten a goalie that you could have maybe upgraded down the road. I don't know. I wouldn't have banned him. Like, that one game wouldn't have broke the season apart.
I'm not going to shit on the one game, and I will say that you can easily replace any position in the NHL and have people. In my 4 seasons, I have found goalies are the easiest thing by far.
Yeah.
I'm rocking 2 guys who never played in NHL, and they play well. I mean, both of them have shutouts. So, like, one, I would say Greggy is known to do this. I mean, this is people and this is a guy we know fucks around and gets mad for playing for bad teams. So, but at the same time, I am not going to tell you not to ban a guy or report it, because I'm a strong believer in if we all take part as a manager and get the kids banned that need to be banned, it shows a strong precedence that the league doesn't tolerate bull, and it creates more parity in the league that we see this season without the 6 million G. And it forces players to play on bad teams in hopes that they'll get moved. So I don't know. I agree with the decision to report him, but I might be the only one here that does.
That is one thing about the new AGM rule. There are a lot of big big contract trades this season compared to prior seasons, with how much cap space can be moved now. I think, as well as allowing bad contracts to get off teams, it's definitely something we're definitely should. Oh, sorry about that. Definitely is a lot better for people on off. Definitely is a bit more open to that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, let's move on and talk about this whole Fizzy disaster that happened. So he just got banned along with a goalie from the Blues on capital punishment. I'm gonna throw in 2 cents here that nobody knows. Say that when Mike got banned, when Mike left LG recently, we were actually offered Fizzy from St. Louis, trying to get us to have Fizzy on our team, which is completely illegal, and I told them that, of course. But just an interesting thing there. I don't know why Fizzy left or got banned.
It was because he was playing on Loki's tag.
Yeah, that is confirmed. Both of them have been issued.
Yeah, it was confirmed that Fizzy played on Loki's tag. That was the reason why he got banned.
Holy shit.
And all the games that Loki won got overturned, which was confirmed, and they actually just fixed them as I'm looking at the league standings right now. So they
Chicago and
you
Winnipeg
do get your wins back. You do get your wins back. They get the losses, and that makes St. Louis the worst team in the NHL. They have 17 points.
Yeah, their season is done.
Yeah.
As much.
They're all done.
And they don't have their first round pick.
Nope. They did just get several first round picks for, or I believe they're about to.
No,
It's first round.
They moved for Christopher.
Yeah, they got one first round. I know Neji's making several.
Probably. I
Is
wouldn't
probably gone.
Kind of have to now.
I know
I
that
definitely
Neji's
think they'll
done.
get.
He's
they'll get
looking
several.
for next season.
Definitely
Yeah.
gonna stack his draft
He has
picks.
good pieces. He still has Blistic. He still has Line. He still has who else? I know he has another bigger player on his team.
He moved
So
Gazurk.
Gazurk,
That's the trade. And I want to say from that Gazurk trade, they got several They got Nashville's first round pick, which is going to be probably a top 5 pick. I mean, that's a good deal, and I'm guessing they'll probably get more firsts from ensuing trades. So.
And they
For
have
sure.
Theo still. They have Line
Yeah,
who they can move by the
Theo's.
end of the
So I was
season.
thinking.
So yeah, they have. I mean, they definitely do have pieces they can still move for more picks. I mean, and they're sitting right now with 2 firsts. Not great first, but they have a Nashville first and a Minnesota first. So I mean, yeah, that's definitely an interesting week for St. Louis. We'll see how they rebound. A team that's always been talked about week after week. I mean, they made like superior rosters almost every time they have a losing week, which has been 3 weeks now. So, um, let's go ahead and talk about our next topic. We just want to touch lightly on fans. Finish up the show after this. Let's go ahead and talk about some studs and duds of the week. Let's just talk about what we liked about this week and what you guys want to talk about. Start it off with Taco. Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to put my stud as Stoner from Winnipeg. Although he's had good season in Detroit last season and sitting at a 10-2-1, 41 points this week. Played 4 games, 3-0-1 with over 2 points in his one loss and 4, 5, and 5 points respectively in his wins. And it wasn't against slouch bad teams. I think he's definitely really showing his value as one of the depth forwards for Winnipeg.
Yeah. Got any duds this week?
I'm gonna have to go actually go with Fizzy. I don't know how you second tag back up and not do that good. Goaltending isn't that difficult. Fizzy, get it together.
Didn't Hudson, I think they look really good now. Like, kind of a thing. Our team as a whole.
What's this week?
I that fucked them.
Here, what about you? Studs and duds of the week. Who you want to talk about? Give some spotlight.
I'll start with the dud, and I'll go with. I'm gonna unfortunately have to go with someone who I traded with, which is I Need to Poo. He blew his team up after week 4. Just at least make an effort. Maybe try to trade for maybe a few more players. Try to make it seem like you're at least trying a little bit before giving away your entire team for picks. And a dud of the week, I'm going to say right now, is the management in Nashville. That's a team that could have easily packed it in. And looking at their roster now, they look a lot more of a full team and a team that can kind of compete with anyone, really. Getting A1 free, so I'm going to give the stud of.
Okay. Fuck you for taking my dud. Yeah, I'm gonna pick it. Been last in the league for 3. I also strongly believe that you didn't actively look for the best offers on the table for your own organization. So I'm just gonna give a solid F to the Islanders right now for the rest of the season, unless they fucking throw us all on our asses and throttle the league. But no one sees that happening. team's a joke, and I feel bad for everyone that has to play there. Especially when your management doesn't make the best moves for your team and is actively giving up. Um, another dud, I'll throw in Fizzy too. You actually made your team worse by second tagging. Congratulations. You didn't do that well in the beginning either, so just remember that. How many wins did they actually lose by question?
I think 3.
Oh,
I think 3.
yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a significant
It
amount.
was 3 or 4
That's-
because Stasny
Yeah.
just said in the management chat, he just said congrats to 3 teams for getting wins or something like that. So I think it was 3.
It's really sad when your team's bad and you have to second tag and it's still hella bad. Studs of the week though, I'm actually gonna give some props to Stud Asheville as well. But same reasoning too as you said, Pierre. Like it's just great to see that you still try, even if you're 12, 24, and 1, you're still trying. And also actually probably the best rebuild in progress right now. No one we didn't really talk about the show. The Dallas Stars about 10 picks, and they still have some valuable players on their team. So it's good to see that one Schlemko is still putting out a team that can compete and is looking to get the max value for all of these players so that he can start to rebuild for next season. On that note, you guys want to talk about anything else? You guys got anything to say about anyone's studs? Want to argue about it?
I think I'm good right now.
I'm good.
On that note, I think we're gonna end this episode of the podcast. As your host, Vatty, signing off. To all of you listening, thanks for all your feedback for after episode 1, and we'll see you next week.